Yeah, yeah, let's do
Carlos Nelson
it.
with What's Up Kansas City. And today we have two state reps on. We have one from Kansas City and we have one from St. Louis. Uh, Marlon, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell our audience a little bit about who you are and how long you've been in the seat.
Well, thank you. My name is Marlon Anderson. I am state representative elect for the 76th district. That's basically all of North St. Louis. I have the district with the most African American percentage in it. I haven't taken the seat yet. I will be sworn in January 6th.
All right. Uh, Mark, why don't you introduce yourself? Our audience is really familiar with Mark for the most part.
Thank you, Mr. Carlos Nelson. It's good to be back on your show again. It's been about 6 months since the last time I was on. Last time I was on was back during the August primary. It's just been so hectic since then, the special sessions that we've had broken up since then. But I represent the 36th district that's in South Kansas City. My border lines, if you're in the Kansas City area, you'll know the border lines from Raytown Road to almost about Grandview, all the way west to State Line up to about 435 Highway. So that's the Hickman Mills-Ruskin Center School Districts. And I was elected last year in a special election. So I have just 1 year of experience down there. And I'll be getting sworn in again because I'm officially with this next class that comes in with Mr. Representative Marlon Anderson elect.
Yeah. Hey, Marlon. You know when we were waiting on Mark to come on, and I was making a phone call to one of my business people, and then my business I was telling him, and he was like, "No, I grew up with Mark." So let me say this about him: when he came on in August, I asked Mark. I was like, "Mark, how the heck you get elected out there in that district?" And so Mark said, "Man, I played ball out there, and all my partners, they grown like me now, and they voted for me." And so uh, that's another reason why Cascade Media is reaching out to give our young representatives a voice so that they can get their individual messages across to their constituency. So, Marlon, we're going to go in on you first. Uh, Tell our audience a little bit about what your platform is for 2021 and some of the things that you'd like to see happen in your community.
Basically, change economic development, allocating more resources to my district. We don't have that many businesses in my district and everything. It's basically North St. Louis. It's inner city. It's what some would deem the worst of the worst, but I think the best of the best. You know, I consider myself others say that you're the rose that grew from the concrete. No, we have great people that we just don't have the economic advantages or the opportunities to present ourselves. And we have to work 10 times harder than our adversaries or our counterparts to get to where we need to be. So my thing is I want to propose legislation that will make it easier to bridge the gap, basically.
Uh, that's excellent. What high school did you go to? Tell First of all, let's go real quick step. Tell the people coming up from kindergarten real quick to what schools you went to. Who were some of your mentors that shaped you?
Okay, basically I'm a product of St. Louis Public Schools. I went to elementary school in St. Louis City. I went to high school at Gateway Institute of Technology. It's a magnet school, public school. Go Jaguars! You know, I've been in St. Louis basically all my life. I started off in college at Forest Park Community College, where I transferred to the great Clark Atlanta University, where I played
And
basketball
now
and
you
football.
and Mark better cut that out. Mark had that Clark shirt on earlier, people. He was representing Clark. I'm like, no, Central State University. Go ahead, bro.
Indeed, indeed. So I'm well vested in the community. I love my community. After I graduated from Clark in 2006, I went out to California for a little minute. Was way too expensive. Came back and worked at my junior college as an admissions counselor at Forest Park, and then I decided to go to law school at Southern University Law Center
All right, down there. All right.
in
Uh,
Baton Rouge.
yeah.
Yes.
So tell me this. Do you have any relationships with any of the fellow politicians that you're about to enter in down at the state?
Very limited relationships. You know, I am what some would consider an outsider and all that, but I have an excellent relationship with Representative Sharp. He's been showing me the ropes, and I've been leaning on him very heavily.
Well, hey, he know the ropes. He come from a real thoroughbred. When you start talking about his lineage, his dad, hell of a politician. I knew how to make some things happen. Mark, tell our audience a little bit about your tell our audience a little bit about what you have planned for 2021, Shaw.
Okay, well, thank you. This session, I'm filing most of the same bills that I filed last year. Really, we were talking about this before the show started, but my goals this year are really to see the high school is coming out of high school having a plan to go somewhere, whether that's community college, to a trade school, to using sports or using academics as a way to further your education. But I'm trying to make it a little easier for our high school students to get to whatever that next place is. And we talked about this, I think, on the show last time, Carlos, where there are guys I played sports with in high school who were far better than I was, who didn't take any offers. And then some of those guys now are dead. And I'm not saying because you didn't go to college or because you didn't do this, that's the reason why. But I think having a plan definitely puts you in a position to where you might be able to make some better choices and stay away from some of the trouble that you end up falling into as a result. Here in South Kansas City, and Marlon touched on it earlier, economic development, we have been crushed by the lack of it here in South Kansas City. And I think we're finally getting to a point now where we're turning the corner and starting to see some other things getting developed, like the Price Chopper and the Wonder Scope area and Red Bridge. And I think Bannister is going to be the next area that gets developed out here in South Kansas City. So I think we're getting to a place finally where people in South Kansas City can be proud of being from South Kansas City. So hopefully, with some bills getting passed and some more changes happening in South Kansas City, we can start to see that homicide rate fall down some.
All right. So from my standpoint on the Kansas City scene, I think the Cerners, the Burns and McDonald's, the Black and Beaches that are out in those areas, I think they need to do a little more heavy lifting. And
they do.
I don't know what companies they are in St. Louis, but I'll get back with you, Marlon, on that. I think it is incumbent upon them to put the financial piece together to help us. Now, with that being said, I would think with Black Lives Matter and the early appointments that the Biden administration has made, from me being a corporation, I see his appointments are signaling corporate America that this playing field is going to have to get leveled some. And I think a network like ours that caters to our community, it's incumbent upon them to come with those dollars. We're working with the Kansas City Greater Chamber of Commerce, our Kansas City Business Association show. And as I told them, we don't really need you to do anything but the heavy lifting with economics. Support us economically. We don't need you to give us no direction on anything, because how business has been run in our community is the majority community tells you what it takes to get to this level. And most of that is spending money on your back office. And if you spend your money on the back office as a small business, you will never have a front office for most Black businesses. And so the same thing with you as reps. I'm interested in working with politicians that understand, let's get solutions from the bottom up. And that's the conversation, I think, when you start talking about homicides in our community. They are not going to stop when the unemployment rate and the hopelessness rate that is going on in our communities. And we as politicians and as Black people sit and let that happen. And so I'm hoping that you two will help wake our community up out of this malaise that it's in, and really hold corporate America and our Black leadership or would-be leadership accountable for their actions. What do you have to say on that, Marlon?
Definitely, because in St. Louis, we are suffering. We do have some major corporations like Anheuser-Busch and Duracell and Ralston Purina, but they don't do anything for my district. They don't do anything in my community. You know, I was talking to one of the alder people. I believe you guys have councilmen and councilwomen in Kansas City. We call them alder people. And we were talking about basically writing to some of the unions and starting some apprenticeship programs and finding some candidates that can assist. But we need people that look like us to fill some of these jobs that are currently in our community. So that's what I've been working on all this summer, basically, before I was even elected.
How can you and Sharp work together? I say, how can you work together? Mark, how can you work with a big boy, man? Run it down.
Well, we got to make sure that we have support. And that's something that we can do. If we use our strength the way we can, the way we best can down there in the Missouri House, if we lock up our votes, our African-American votes, our Black votes, if we can have those anchored down, that's gets us a quarter of the way right there. Then we have to lean on other Democrats to get more votes. But at the same time, you add all that up, we still don't have enough. So it comes into a part where we're having relationships and developing trust and figuring out ways to leverage relationships with moderate Republicans in the Missouri House. And there's so many moderate Republicans down there that you can make strides with and introduce bills or show them legislation like, hey, this is something that you guys would support or something that you think that you can get behind. Because if I introduce it or if Marlon introduces it, it may not go anywhere. It may not. But if someone else introduces it, it may go somewhere. And now that's very unfair, but that is just the nature of the beast down there. Yeah.
Well, I'm supporting my young politicians, giving y'all really free reign with Cascade Media to come on, to be creative, to serve our community. And it was a pleasure having you on the show, Marlon. Would you like to have any closing words?
Well, I thank you for having the opportunity to speak with your constituency and your media base. And thank you, Representative Sharp, for inviting me. I definitely would love to come on and bring some other guests in. It's time for change. We can't keep doing the same thing thinking things are going to change. And like you said, the bottom 3/4, that's who I work for. That's who I speak for. I became an attorney to basically be the vote and the voice for the people that are forgotten and less thought about. So that's the same thing I'm going to do in the House of Representatives.
Excellent. Mark, what's your closing statements?
Again, thank you again for having us on the show. And hopefully we can come back on the show very soon here and use it more often. I think that now that the election season's over, I think most of us are going to have a lot more time on our hands. And hopefully we can get some more folks from St. Louis and the Kansas City area to come back on the show. I was born and raised in South Kansas City, Carlos. Lost my sister to domestic violence, lost a best friend to gun violence. As long as I'm in the Missouri House, those are things that I'm going to try to fight and try to reduce, period. I know at the same time, Hickman Mills School District needs to get back to full accreditation. There's some things that need to happen specifically in South Kansas City, but those are the things that I'm fighting for every day down there, and hopefully I can have an effect on that.
What I would say to you, Mark, I'm going to send out a invitation to the Hickman Mills superintendent, and invite you on the show with
Mr. Bing,
and so that we can talk about some of the things that you want to see happen and see what his responses are and how he feels about the district. And the same with you, Marlon. Line your people up so that they can know that you're not playing tiddlywinks. You're out here trying to represent them in the fashion that they need to be represented in this digital format, that one can send this interview to your constituents, and we can get some headway on coming together.
Indeed.
And as we always say in closing, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
This program is brought to you by Dye Electric LLC, Energy in Motion.